Welcome back, or welcome for the first time to the Develop download. I'm Danielle Wright. That's Chris Brown sitting next to me on this lovely screen. And we are here to download on all things development, franchising specifically. But today I think Chris wants to take us in a different direction. So I'm going to kick it over to my partner in crime and let him start our weekly download discussion. How about it, Chris?
Then let's go. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Chris here. We were just talking about some things that, I think make Danielle special, things that make my day special. And by that, I mean, what makes a top performing productive day? And so Danielle was kind of saying something as to, what her day goes like when she sets intentions. And I'm going to let her sort of expand on that. But so tell me, Danielle, just let's riff for a little bit. Let's talk about what makes a productive.
That's hard for either one of us to do.
No, I know we're talkers, but what is what makes a productive day for you? Like, what's the first thing you do when you wake up or you get into the office? Do you have a cup of coffee? I know you got a dog, so there's that. But what makes a productive day, the start to one, at least?
Yeah, it's funny because we were chatting about this, and I think as I, self-inflicted here, gotten older, routine becomes a little bit more important than I think it ever did, right? Like you're younger, you fly by the seat of your pants and you do what's thrown at you. But I find like if my routine gets off a little bit, it's not the best way to like kick off the day. And there's not a lot of things that I do from a routine perspective that I need to do. But yeah, to your point, like I definitely walk the dog in the morning, and I definitely, when I work from home, look, I still get dressed like in clothes, like I'm going to an office, because I do go into an office. But the irony is I've spent the past couple of years just kind of dialing back from some intensities, right? And so you and I were talking, and then I was having subsequent conversations throughout the morning. It's like I appreciate our Monday check-in calls, and I've got a support person that every day I talk to them at 9, from 9 to 9:30. That call is set. We're hashing out who's doing what during the day. And the reality is an awareness has come to me that I need that. Like if I don't talk to someone and it's mainly talk, right? Like we talk a lot, like, and as much as I don't want to get on another phone call or another Zoom or any of those things, if I don't start my morning that way, it's like from that 8 to 10 o'clock hour, if I don't have a call or something in those buckets, my day just kind of goes lost. I don't lock in. I don't get as much done. The person that works for me has said the same thing. He's like, when you don't have phone calls, like you are the master of your domain. Like you get stuff done, because I was getting stuff done. Phone calls for us are part of where we make money, but phone calls are also a distraction of getting things done. And they're mentally exhausting. I don't know about you, but for me, they're mentally exhausting. So if I have back-to-back calls all day and still need to get stuff done at the end of the day, it's really hard to like focus in and lock in at the end of the day to get some of that stuff done, right? Like the thing you want to do is walk away from this desk. You don't want to sit at it any longer. But I
But
find
how much of that?
Go ahead.
How much of that is intentional, and how much of that is reactionary? So when do you know what you're doing for that day? Is it the night before? Is it the morning of?
Probably the morning of, right? And quite honestly, the reason for that is much like you, I get out and exercise in the morning and I'm outside. So I don't carry my phone. I'm old fashioned. I just kind of track it with my little ring and band. I don't need the phone's engagement at that juncture, because it's my time for clarity, and my mind goes 1,000 miles a minute. I'm a little ADHD, and I say a little, it might be a lot, but I'm just saying a little because I don't want to feel completely horrible about myself. But I sit down with that, right? Like, what did I not get done? What needs to get done? And then I hash it out. And then for you and I on Mondays, it's more like setting what we're going to work on this week. We started with like, how do we plan for this call, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's hash out for this call so it's not so just all over the board. But then it turns into being great motivation, eye-opening. Like I listen to you and all of a sudden I'm giving you stuff to do, and you listen to me and then you're challenging me on some of those things. So then we become, I don't want to say a mastermind group for each other, but an accountability partner. Like, you're looking for that next thing you're doing. And sometimes we both are too caught up in the minutia that it takes someone else to say, you're complicating that. Let's dial that back. So I'm more of a morning, make out the list, make out the things that need to get done kind of person. And then I'm a check off that list. And then I move whatever's not complete over to the next day because I just feel like at this stage in life, I don't have to work 25 hours in a 24-hour day. I can
Yeah.
have like
Yeah.
the luxury of kind of just choosing those pieces. But some of it's important. Like it's important to get some of the minutia done because if you don't do that, then you can't look at big picture stuff. So how does your day kick off? What do you do?
You know what? I find that my day is probably much more productive when I do that the night before. And by the night before, I mean like literally phone out, maybe right before I'm going to bed or not in bed, but going to bed. And I go, okay, what's tomorrow morning look like? What does the afternoon look like? And what can I sort of set my pace, you call it intentions or whatever, but how do I frame that day for me the night before? And I actually sleep better when I do that. When
Oh,
I
okay.
don't do that, I'm okay. But, I wake up the next day and then I go and I'm figuring that stuff out when I'm drinking my coffee in the morning. And, so for me, the structure of doing that the night before produces a much, much more deliberate day, right? Like I asked you, does your day, is it more intentional calls or is it reactionary? There's a reactionary part to all of our days, right? Especially us, because we're fielding calls. Like we have that meeting, that intentional meeting with regards to the Dvelop download, and all these ideas and all these actions stem from that. And so I'm doing things immediately, especially Mondays. Mondays are the great days for me, and they're also the challenging days too, because I try not to structure too many meetings on Mondays because I know that this is where I lay the groundwork for the
For the
week.
week. Yeah.
And so there are some meetings, like today I have 4 meetings in addition to the one that we had, and it's already produced, activity for brands, for Future Thought. You and I came up with a wonderful, structured idea around, a area director thing. So we'll see, some kind of fruits of that labor come about in the near future. And that's the cool thing that comes from these kinds of meetings. You and I also are a part of other networks outside of our network. And so what I find is really neat is that we bring that to the conversation. And then from our conversation, something comes of that. And I guarantee you it affects the other conversations that we're having outside of what we're doing. So that it's a compounding effect. I love expanding our theory. We have a philosophy, a way of doing business, a thing that's gotten us here. But we have the nuances of that sort of take us outside the world. Your focus is a little more on the promotional and the marketing side and the development side. And mine is primarily on the development side and the structure side and the building side. And those things, while they're complementary, they take us in different directions. We were talking about the calendar, like what our calendar looks like over the next month or two, and which ones we want to focus on, what events we want to target. Some of them fun, like you were just rattling off a list of industry events that I was like, wow, these would be really cool to go to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the things that stem from, the kind of back and forth that we have with each other, but that we have with our other networks too. I mean, if anyone can take something from what we're doing, what we're talking about today, one of the things I think is, be comfortable operating outside your little capsule, whatever that is, your office, your pocket of business, reach outside for these kinds of things, events and relationships. And then, it's okay to have some structure to the day, but be flexible with it. And
Yeah.
those are the kinds of days that produce, like, there's an element of, hey, there's a force and energy, whatever you want to call it out there, that sort of guides the day, whether we like it or not. And so I get into it and I go, oh, wow, the end of the day happens. And I go, I didn't see that one coming,
That wasn't
or
on
I
your
have
bingo card.
right. Or, I'm having a conversation with Tim, about something too, and that didn't see that one coming. And so you just have to be open to that kind of thing. But I think for myself, when I set myself up with, okay, these are the 4 things that I'm setting out to do tomorrow, and then be open and willing enough to say, okay, there's going to be some stuff that sort of comes in there, roll with it. And I think that's what we do really well too. I think we roll with things pretty well.
Well, and I think that's like if anybody's watching this like top performer-esque, like, hey, how do I punch out a bunch of deals? Like, how do I do that? Right. And at any one moment, we are inundated with things. Like my checklist is probably longer than my arm, but I find it important to narrow that down to 3 or 4 things that I know I can get done in a day. Because if you look at it, I get overwhelmed easily with a laundry list of stuff. But what are the 4 things that I can attack today? What are the 3 things I'm sure I like? And if I can check off those 3 things, then guess what? I can put other things on them as they come, but then the list doesn't continue to grow. And if you think, I was talking to someone today that's working with a high intensity brand. They've had like 80 first calls in the last month. 80, 80. That's a lot of first calls to have with a brand. And so they're overwhelmed, inundated. They're in a great position that a lot of people would love to be in. Like, I'd love to have 80 first calls. So you think, because then out of those 80, you would then have to start weeding out, but then you still have to put the new ones in. And I think the only way that you can manage all of that chaos, as we'd like to call it, is to have some element of structure. Because if you don't, like, and you have to have some go-getterness. Like I think you and I were talking about earlier, and I've been talking to other people, it's like you lose an element of, as you stay in the business a long time and you're doing the same things, is like we love what we do and we can't imagine we'd do something else, right? But how do you get excited about your everyday? Like, how do you keep that level of excitement? Because your client's going to hear it, the candidates are going to hear it. Like, if you don't have that excitement about it, then I've always been told, like, it shows up on your calls more than you think. Don't have calls until you figure out what's going on. That's a top performer thing. Like, you need to check yourself before you go into these things. And that's kind of how I check myself, is if I don't have some type of engaging conversation early in the morning. Mind you, all of our listeners, viewers, whoever's watching this, I have recently become a complete full empty nester. There is no one in my house but me and the dog. So dog's not going to be a great conversationalist, right? He's not going to do much for triggering my brain first thing in the morning. But I know that I need that level of engagement in the morning to get wheels turning, me thinking. And to your point, I'm more of the creative out of the group of us. Like, you're more operationally driven, and I'm just more of, if the moment finds me, like the creative bubble starts going, and like you need to have flexibility to be able to allow that out, because there's good stuff in there. And like the conversation you and I were having, it's just very much, if I didn't trigger my brain for a conversation with you, I wouldn't have been able to come up with some of the nuggets I took away from our call that then have kind of given us steps for the rest of the week to kind of maximize the potential of our greatness by having those things. I'm less of a structure person, but I know that I need the structure, if that makes any sense. And so being a top performer, I think that's the stuff that you have to do. It's like, I may not love it, but I know I need to do it. And this is the way that I need to go about it. Otherwise, I'm doing no one any good whatsoever in a day if I just crap out and be like, yeah, I got the Mondays. And then the Mondays turn into Tuesdays. And then the Tuesdays turned into Wednesdays. And I got blues for the rest of the week. So
and then we send out a search party for Danielle. So there we go. Yeah. So I'm on a call earlier today, and I lose power. My entire office shuts down. And that's another thing that I'm sitting here and I'm in the middle of this dark zone, and I think everybody's still on the call and on the Zoom call. I don't know, because everything's a black screen. And I go, you know what? It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. You know, you just got to like roll with things sometimes. And I think that, we're in this world, this business world. And what gets me is we're in these conversations with people, these founders calls, the discovery days, the structured calls. They're just people that are a part of this. That's the thing that I need to remember, is that we're just people. And so when we want to put forth a professional image. Yes, we want to put forth something that is special for the person that's investigating the brand or whatever, that demonstrates structure, that demonstrates, we've got our crap together, we know what we're doing. But there's an element to, you got to be
meeting them where they are, not them meeting us where we are.
Exactly. And you got to be able to kind of roll with it sometimes. And you got to be able to, okay, so what happens when when it hits the fan? How are you going to behave? How are you going to be? I sort of came out of that. These little micro moments, right, that we have, these events, these things, hiccups that happen in life. And then I'm in that conversation. And then what I do, I kind of opened my phone up and, I booted off my phone and came back to life. And, and guess what? The call was still going on, and they didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss Chris B at all. So, hey, all is well. But I love this deal that we get to do together. We're at 16 minutes. How are we doing
Yep.
on time?
Well, I
This
think
might
that's
be the,
our nugget, right? Like we like to sit in that 15, 20-minute space. We're a lot for people, so we like to structure ourselves
yeah,
into a small.
yeah, yeah.
But I appreciate you and I appreciate this thing that we get to do together and this. And so for anybody that doesn't know or wants to know, Chris and I became friends through franchising. Like we shared a similar mentor, introduced us, and then we haven't been able to break free yet. So I think thank you for being you. You are a blessing in my world. And so
Thank you.
I think as we wrap up this week's little develop download, the takeaway I want everybody to get is like, you don't always have to have structure to your day, but you have to have structure to something. So why not let it be your day? Right? Any last parting words, Mr. CB, before we let them go to next week?
That's a great one right there. What you said, have some sense of structure and then be flexible, roll with it and have fun. Enjoy this thing. It's not a sentence. It's an opportunity.
Look at you. All right. Well, that was Chris Brown. Take his words because he's not using them. And we will see you guys next week.
Take care.